negativity can spread in a work group, which we'll talk about. And secondly, the fact that negativity doesn't just affect other employees, it also does spread to customers. Even if customers don't overhear comments, as this woman is talking about, when you have a lot of negative people, they will take a negative tone with customers, and it will start to infect those relationships as well. So it certainly shows why managers need to do something to deal with these problems and nip them in the bud. In this particular case, what you would really need is what we're going to call a team turnaround, because it is a whole group, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on towards the end of our program. So here are our topics for today. Is your workplace contaminated? What causes negative behavior? Because you need to diagnose the cause to figure out what the best cure is. How to recognize the people who are negativity carriers, and I'm sure you recognize them. I'm sure you know that person's negative, but we're going to give you some ways to think about defining those folks. Then some of the things managers may do to actually encourage the negative behavior that they would like to get rid of. Finally, 6 specific tools for neutralizing negativity. We're going to get very specific about certain things you can do in working with individuals and groups to solve these problems. And then what we're going to end with is if you happen to be in a toxic organization yourself, which I certainly hope you're not, but if you find yourself in a toxic organization, how do you stay sane there? How do you survive there? So let's start by thinking about your workplace and whether it is contaminated. And we need to define what we're talking about here with negativity. So by negativity, what we mean is any verbal or nonverbal behavior that causes others to feel angry, depressed, anxious, discouraged, or hopeless. Here are some clues that this could be a problem where you work. Here's 7 signs of a negativity infection. Informal conversations include a lot of griping. When people get together, griping just seems to be the default setting. That's just what people tend to go right to talking about. People seldom laugh together, joke together. One of the things that I have noticed, and I've done a lot of team building in my career, and when I get a group together where we're going to have a team building session, I always watch before we start to see what the tone of the group is like. And if I have a group where nobody is laughing, nobody's kind of joking around before the session starts, I know we're probably going to have a pretty long day, and that group really needs to do something useful with that day, because people who can't laugh and joke together really have some problems. Meetings and discussions take on a negative tone. You're having a staff meeting, and people immediately start talking about the problems and issues and concerns, or they just simply don't talk at all. They kind of clam up. People often question the motives of others. You know, we have a choice about how we interpret other people's behavior. Let's say, for example, somebody leaves you off an email, and you find out later that you didn't get that information. Well, you can choose how to interpret that. You could say, oh, you know, I guess Bob slipped Bob's mind, forgot to include me on the email. Let me just, see if he'll send me that info. Or you can say, well, obviously Bob